We are carefully following the path of Hurricane Epstein right now. It is a Category 5. It's expected to make landfall sometime very soon. We are now one step closer to answering the question, what did the president know and how old were these women when he knew? How did we wind up with a president and a vice president who wear more makeup than Kylie Jenner and Lady Gaga combined?
Craziness. Meanwhile, the government is shut down, and the Republicans who currently are in charge of Congress, they're not even pretending to solve the problem. They have not even been showing up to work.
Jimmy Kimmel and Barack Obama just roasted Trump and J.D. Vance like they were competing in a championship-level barbecue showdown. It was ruthless, it was explosive, and it was so sharp the camera crew could barely hold the shots steady. Then, Obama dropped a line so brutal that Kimmel nearly walked off the stage in disbelief. If you missed it live, don't worry, we're breaking down every raw, unfiltered moment right now.
Meanwhile, with all this going on, he posted up a storm on Truth Social this week, and he covered a range of topics from Biden and his auto pen to photos of his new ballroom. He bragged about getting the keys.
He's currently on the air, and to the extent that he isn't in certain stations, it's because he's not funny because his ratings aren't very good.
I have some good news for you, J-Dog. We're back on all this.
A 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems since he rode down his golden escalator 9 years ago. It has been a constant stream of gripes.
Jimmy Kimmel steps into the chaos like someone walking into a kitchen where the smoke alarm won't stop screaming, calmly taking in the non-stop mess President Trump leaves behind. Every stumble, every meltdown, every overthought performance that turns basic politics into supermarket tabloid theater becomes premium comedy fuel for Kimmel. And the spectacle never shrinks. It only grows louder, weirder, and more impossible to ignore with every passing hour.
Both the House and Senate voted to release the long-withheld files related to a man who considered himself to be Trump's closest friend for more than a decade, the late sex criminal Jeffrey Epstein. The vote in Congress went 427-1. It was such a landslide, Trump might actually be able to rebury the Epstein files under it. The Senate today sent the bill to the White House. Now, usually when Trump gets a bill, he declares bankruptcy and doesn't pay it. But this one, he's going to...
If you're enjoying this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Barack Obama steps in with a delivery so smooth, it makes Trump's wildest moments sound like he's narrating a science fair project held together with nothing but glue and confidence. Obama highlights how Trump can stretch the smallest inconvenience into a self-declared triumph. And the contrast hits with a thud so heavy, it practically echoes through the room. Even J.D. Vance can't sidestep the shockwave that follows.
There's the childish nicknames, the crazy conspiracy theories, this weird obsession with crowd sizes. I heard someone compare Trump to the neighbor who keeps running his leaf blower outside your window every minute of every day. From a neighbor, that's exhausting. From a president,
Jimmy. Kimmel jumps back into the spotlight by framing J.D. Vance as a man determined to look important, yet constantly tripping over the script of what he imagines power should feel like. The shift from best-selling author to full-time presidential hype man plays out like a sitcom subplot nobody requested. Every attempt Vance makes to stand taller only makes him wobble harder, turning the spectacle into something that ages.
Hasn't been this nervous about signing something since Don Jr.'s birth certificate. And he's not the only one. Speaker Mike Johnson, who shut most of Washington down for like 2 months to try to avoid this, very much wanted to amend the bill to allow them to redact names to protect the innocent. His fellow Republican majority leader in the Senate rejected that idea, which was very upsetting to the Speaker of the House.
I'm deeply disappointed in this outcome. I think I'm told...
Barack Obama picks up the thread by pointing out Trump's uncanny ability to turn any podium moment into a victory lap no one else remembers witnessing. He breaks down the strange rhythm of bragging that only grows louder as the situation becomes shakier. Meanwhile, J.D. Vance trails behind, waving metaphorical pom-poms like he accidentally entered the wrong competition. The energy keeps spiraling, fueled by a level of commitment that's almost impressive.
our politics are in a pretty dark place right now. It's hard to know where to start because every day this White House offers up a fresh batch of lawlessness and recklessness and mean-spiritedness. And
Jimmy Kimmel moves in with that sharp, unmistakable sting, painting Trump as a man who wakes up every morning ready to announce a victory before remembering he hasn't actually earned one. The bravado always outruns the reality, like a drum that refuses to stay in tune, no matter how many times it's tightened. Beside him, J.D. Vance tries to keep pace, playing backup dancer to a routine that never quite finds its rhythm. The confusion becomes entertainment at its finest. Trump leans heavily on theatrics, operating as if political turbulence can be solved with an extra dose of swagger, and J.D. Vance mirrors that swagger with a level of enthusiasm that borders on full-time cosplay, his expressions suggesting he's committed to the role even when the scene makes no sense. The whole display develops its own strange gravitational pull. Drawing every glance, every laugh, every raised eyebrow, Kimmel keeps the roast blazing by pointing out how Trump treats press appearances like his personal version of show and except the items he presents rarely match the story he's trying to sell. The mismatch practically begs to become a comedy sketch. Meanwhile, J.D. Vance applauds every contradiction, as if sheer enthusiasm might earn him credibility. The dynamic plays out like a recurring sitcom gag that somehow gets funnier every time it repeats.
House will vote, and we'll see how that goes. Turns out all Trump had to do was threaten to starve poor people, and he got his way. I'm sure he'll never do it again, though. Speaker Mike Johnson praised the bill, which is kind of all you need to know. He said he's glad Democrats are finally ready to do what the American people have been asking them to do for weeks. Great, and then maybe you'll finally be ready to do what the American people have been asking you to do for months and release.
Barack Obama keeps the momentum going, framing Trump's decision-making like someone reviewing an instruction manual that's missing half the pages. Each plan looks stitched together with hope, guesswork, and the belief that no one will notice the loose ends flapping in the wind. Meanwhile, J.D. Vance hovers proudly beside him, treating every unraveling thread as if it's some kind of achievement. The unraveling becomes its own rhythm. Jimmy Kimmel jumps in and sharpens the edge, portraying Trump as a man determined to transform every awkward moment into a heroic tale, usually delivered with the confidence of someone who believes volume alone can make a story true. Obama follows with precision, describing Trump's leadership style as a series of bold declarations assembled without the instructions. The pieces are there, but nothing quite locks together. And then there's J.D. Vance, presenting each half-formed idea like a finished masterpiece ready for display. His enthusiasm only highlights the gaps. The misalignment between intent and execution grows so consistent, so predictable, that it practically roasts itself before Kimmel or Obama have to say a word.
The reason some people think, well, I don't know, I remember that economy when he first came in being pretty good. Yeah, it was pretty good, because it was my economy. We had 75 straight months of job growth that I handed over to him. It wasn't something he did. I spent 8 years cleaning up the mess that the Republicans had left.
Jimmy Kimmel zeroes in on the melodrama. That seems to follow Donald Trump the way glitter clings to kids' craft projects everywhere, relentlessly and usually for no reason. He frames even the tiniest inconvenience as a cosmic crisis that only Trump believes he's uniquely qualified to conquer. The self-mythologizing turns routine moments into sporadic performances that feel like dress rehearsals for a show no one asked to see. Meanwhile, J.D. Vance stands eagerly beside him with the energy of a man sitting front row at a production he doesn't fully understand. The result? Comedy born from pure, unfiltered confusion. Barack Obama counters with his trademark calm breakdown, explaining how Trump treats every setback like a dramatic plot twist in a story desperately trying to be gripping. But the twists land with more noise than substance, more cymbal crash than orchestral masterpiece. J.D. Vance clings to each dramatic beat with the zeal of someone who memorized his lines 10 minutes before curtain call. He applauds every misfire, as if it's proof of brilliance, and the audience doesn't know whether to laugh or look away. Laughter wins. Obama follows it up by pointing out how Trump's plans expand and collapse with the unpredictability of a balloon animal crafted by a very optimistic clown. The confidence never wavers, even when the shape does. J.D. Vance steps in, proudly presenting each misshapen creation as if it's a long-awaited masterpiece. The visual practically writes its own satire. Jimmy Kimmel digs further into the spectacle, describing Trump's grand announcements as fireworks that sparkle for a moment before dissolving into a cloud that makes everyone squint. The excitement burns hot, but the shine never lasts. Still, J.D. Vance stands beneath the haze like it's a medal of honor, grinning through the smoke. The entire performance drips with triumph that hasn't quite been earned. Kimmel then rattles off Trump's latest grievances. He raged about beef prices, promoted Eric Trump's book, bashed Nancy Pelosi, complained about voter ID laws, and even revealed that he's trying to get an NFL stadium named after himself. Apparently, he wants the Washington Commanders to give him naming rights, and Kimmel practically bursts at the idea. Why would anyone want to name anything after Don? Look at Don Jr. It's not exactly a winning brand. Barack Obama keeps the rhythm steady, presenting Trump's constant push to prove a point that no one else remembers. The effort becomes so theatrically dramatic that it almost creates its own atmosphere. J.D. Vance stays locked in with unwavering excitement, even as the purpose behind each moment slips out of frame. The awkwardness becomes part of the comedy. Kimmel shifts focus to Trump's obsession with curating his own headlines, decorating them, stretching them, embellishing them, until they resemble something flattering rather than factual. The over-decorated narratives become part of the charm. J.D. Vance holds on to each claim with the determination of someone guarding a castle built from soggy cardboard. The defenses sag with magnificent consistency. Kimmel keeps the roast rolling by describing Trump's public image strategy like a hobby that's spun wildly out of control. Trump keeps polishing, repainting, adjusting, but the shine never evens out. Still, there's J.D. Vance always ready with encouragement, while the cracks widen with every attempt. The contrast between loyalty and reality hits harder than any punchline. Obama returns with his signature cool precision, stacking Trump's missteps like a tower built from mismatched puzzle pieces. The structure wobbles under the weight of its own contradictions. And there's J.D. Vance again, hyping each flawed effort with all the gusto of a man trying to sell a puzzle that's missing half the pieces. The gaps stare through every boast, every grin, every attempt at confidence, turning the entire spectacle into a comedy of errors that practically roasts itself before anyone else steps up to the mic.
He raged about the price of beef. He plugged his son Eric's book. He bashed Nancy Pelosi. He complained about voter ID. And we learned he's trying to get the NFL to name a stadium after him. Trump reportedly wants the Washington Commanders to give him naming rights to their new stadium. Why would anyone ever want to name anything after Don? I mean, look at Don Jr. It's not exactly a winning...
Extreme views were not in my White House. I wasn't embracing them. I wasn't empowering them. I wasn't putting the weight of the United States government behind extremist views. And that is when we have the weight of the United States government behind extremist views.
Jimmy Kimmel keeps the fire roaring by turning Trump's daily proclamations into a running gag where every claim grows taller than the one before it. The exaggerations stack so quickly they hit cartoon height within seconds. J.D. Vance loyally backs each new layer as though he's helping construct a monument built entirely out of uncertainty. And with every addition, that monument leans a little more, defying balance and logic alike. Barack Obama dives back in with his unmistakably steady tone, making Trump's political theatrics sound like performances staged for applause that never quite arrives. The gestures grow grander, the declarations louder, all to fill the silence where cheers should be. Yet J.D. Vance clings to the showmanship with unwavering enthusiasm, even when the stage lights flicker and the disconnect becomes sharper than the satire itself. He's in the corner cheering with relentless optimism, committed to every moment. No matter how mismatched, Obama keeps the momentum rolling by breaking down how Trump approaches policy like a chaotic Buffett. Nothing pairs well, but everything still ends up on the plate. The result is a spread of mismatched decisions that defy any recipe. J.D. Vance presents the plate proudly, as if it were fine cuisine crafted by a master chef. The absurdity becomes a comedic feast on its own. Kimmel raises the stakes again, describing Trump's public setbacks as dramatic episodes in a saga. Powered by over-the-top narration and unnecessary fanfare, the bigger the mishap, the louder the celebration. And J.D. Vance hoists those moments like trophies forged from pure confusion, doubling the comedic impact with every enthusiastic grin.
Washington down for like 2 months to try to avoid this, very much wanted to amend the bill to allow them to redact names to protect the innocent. His fellow Republican majority leader in the Senate rejected that idea, which was very upsetting to the Speaker of the House.
I'm deeply disappointed in this outcome. I think I'm told I've been at the state dinner. I don't know. I was just told that Chuck Schumer rushed it to the floor and put it out there preemptively. It needed amendments. I just spoke to the president about that. We'll see what happens.
So is he? Do you think he may veto it? You say you spoke to the president?
I'm not saying that.
Is he supportive of it in its current form?
We both have concerns about it, so we'll see.
Poor little guy had to get out of there before the ketchup bottle started flying at his head. They are so scared of Trump. What is going on? Is he beating them? I don't get it. They just blindly defend him. They don't know what's in those files. They're taking his word for it. They're taking the word of someone who paid a porn star $130,000 and claims he didn't do it.
Obama keeps the flow steady by reshaping Trump's actions into a storyline where the hero keeps tripping over his own cape. And with every new boast, that cape somehow grows longer. J.D. Vance trails behind, dutifully lifting the dragging fabric with the dedication of someone who doesn't realize it's sweeping through absolute chaos. The drag marks alone become a visual punchline. Jimmy Kimmel pushes the pace by explaining how Trump treats every statistic like an abstract art project painted with the broadest brushes imaginable. The colors spill everywhere, the numbers blur into shapes, and the contradictions stack so high they start resembling modern art. Yet J.D. Vance steps forward and presents each contradiction like a rare gemstone. The stones don't sparkle, but the irony does, and much brighter. Kimmel wraps the energy around Trump's relentless obsession with appearing victorious in moments no one else can even interpret. The confusion becomes part of the legacy, a signature flourish of the spectacle. J.D. Vance marches beside him with a pride that outshines logic, glowing with confidence that somehow becomes its own comedic effect. Barack Obama closes the stretch with a smooth, unbothered assessment of Trump's continuous theatrics, delivered in a tone that makes the chaos sound almost artistic. Almost the artistry remains. Highly debatable.
You know, a lot of people have asked me lately whether I'm surprised by the direction the country's taken. And even though I am the hope and change guy, I try to be honest with them. So I say, yes, there are things I am worried about. I am worried about how quickly basic democratic rules and norms have been weakened. I'm worried about how willing Republicans in Congress have been to surrender their role as members of a co-equal branch of government, refusing to buck the president even when they know.
J.D. Vance holds up each chaotic piece of Trump's performance with an almost sacred pride, completely unaware that the frame is slipping. The slip itself becomes a perfect punctuation, the kind of visual joke that needs no punchline. Jimmy Kimmel seizes the moment, amplifying the chaos by framing Trump's latest blunders as a traveling show, each city treated to the same routine, each misstep performed with even more misplaced confidence. The audience never asked for an encore, yet the spectacle grows bigger and louder. J.D. Vance stays close, polishing every misstep as if it were a rare collector's item, a hidden gem of ingenuity. He beams like he's witnessing the birth of brilliance, even as the Tower of Chaos leans precariously, wobbling so far it practically waves at the crowd. The unsteady display becomes a source of laughter in its own right, a monument to absurdity. Kimmel dives deeper, transforming Trump's reactions into scenes that resemble spontaneous improv gone completely rogue. Each gesture, each declaration grows bolder as if energy alone could patch the widening cracks. J.D. Vance hovers behind, nodding with unwavering excitement, like someone cheering on a sputtering volcano mid-eruption. The eruption sputters, but the enthusiasm remains relentless. Feeding the comedic rhythm, Barack Obama steps in with his signature smooth, calm tone, giving every one of Trump's declarations a weight that reads almost like chapters from an unfinished novel written at lightning speed. The plot twists refuse to settle, each one more convoluted than the last. Yet Obama's delivery makes them feel deliberate, almost artistic. J.D. Vance protects each shaky plot point as if convinced the draft is already a bestseller, guarding contradictions with the pride of someone who sees hidden genius in every misfire. Kimmel keeps the pace moving, showing how each attempt to assert control only magnifies the chaos. Trump's public theatrics, each more exaggerated than the last, create a feedback loop of confusion, applause, and misplaced confidence. J.D. Vance remains unwavering, standing beside the spectacle with a devotion that borders on heroic, making the contrast between competence and chaos all the funnier. The comedy lands perfectly as the performance barrels forward, unstoppable, unpolished, and unforgettable. A relentless parade of absurdity that never lets the audience breathe because laughter is the only way to survive the spectacle.